Students, myself. Hello, students. Myself, Rajesh Singh, assistant teacher. Uh, I have got lots of comments and phone call to start history. So today I am going to take first chapter of history, class 10th, and the topic is the rise of nationalism in Europe. What happened? How the patriotic thing or the nationalism rose in Europe continent and from which country? First, it was started in France, and as we have studied till now, that the democratic word come from it is a French word, democracia. So in 1848, Frederick Sorio, a French artist, prepared a series of four prints, and his dream of a world made up of democratic and social republics, as Frederick Sorio named it. And the first print of the series shows that the peoples of Europe and America, men and women of all ages and social classes, marching in a long chain. You can look in the book, first figure, that lots of people they have formed a queue, a chain, huge chain, and they were marching and offering homage to the Statue of Liberty as they passed by it. So at that time, the French Revolution personified liberty as a female figure. According to the picture, you can say the statue is of a woman, and the artist have personified this picture as the picture of liberty. So here you can recognize the torch of enlightenment, and the statue bears in one hand the torch of liberty and the charter of the rights of man in the other. In one hand, the charter of rights, and in another hand, the torch of liberty. So, on the earth, in the foreground of the image lie the shattered remains of the symbols of absolutist, absolutist institutions. Now, what is this? It is a type of government in history. It refers to a form of monarchical government that was centralized, militarized, and repressive. The meaning of absolutist is that one person rule was there. There was no rule of people as we are having these days, democracy. But earlier in 1948, in those days in France, there was rule of monarch, and that rule was militarized and centralized, and it was repressive. So that was a one man show. And according to the French artist, that is Frederick Sorio's utopian vision, the people of the world are grouped as distinct nations identified through their flags and national costume. Here, the meaning of utopian is that society that is so ideal that it is unlikely to actually exist. Means it was an imagination that society will become in future like this. So here are 2 points, that is absolutist and utopian. You have to remember this, and the date, that is 1848, and who was the French artist Frederick Sorio. So leading the procession according to the picture, the procession was coming out and reaching up to the Statue of Liberty. The Statue of Liberty are the United States and Switzerland, which by this time were already nation states. But at this time, France was under the king's rule. So France was indefinable by the revolutionary tricolor had just reached the statue, and she is followed by the peoples of Germany bearing the black, red, and gold flag. Interestingly, at the time when Sorio created this image, the German peoples did not yet exist as a united nation. The flag they carry in an expression of liberal hopes in 1848 to unify the numerous German-speaking principalities into a nation state under a democratic constitution. Following the German people are the peoples of Austria, the kingdom of the two Sicilies, Lombardy, Poland, England, Ireland, Hungary, and Russia. So these were the countries. These were too many countries with Germany and France. They all were wanting that they should have democratic kind of rule, not the monarchical rule. Uh, uh, One man showed they were not liking. So from the heavens above, according to the again picture, you can say in the picture Jesus Christ from the heaven is just holding the uh, cross in his hand, and from the heavens above Christ stands and angels gaze upon the scene, and they all were looking the scene what was going on the French in the French country. They have been used by the artists to symbolize fraternity among the nations of the world. So in this chapter, we'll deal with many of the issues visualized by Sorio in figure 1 during the 19th century. Nationalism emerged as a force which brought about sweeping changes in the political and mental world of Europe. So whatever dream the artist Sorio had seen in earlier 19th century, it appeared that it will come one day true in the continent Europe. The end result of these changes was the emergence of nation state in the place of the multinational dynastic empires of Europe. So the concept and practices of modern state in which a centralized power exercises sovereign control over a clearly defined territory had been developing over a long period of time in Europe. But a nation state was one in which the majority of its citizens and not only its rulers came to develop a sense of common identity, shared history, or descent. Means now the king will be there, the queen will be there, but the actual rule will be prevailed by the citizen of that nation. This commonness did not exist from time immemorial. It was forced through struggles. It was not that easy as we are just studying or reading the chapter. It took a lots of years to reach or to achieve the democracy, true democracy, through the actions of leaders and the common people. And in this chapter, we will look at the diverse processes through which nation states and nationalism came into being in 19th century in the Europe continent. Now let's understand a new word more, that is plebiscite. What is plebiscite? A direct vote by which all the people of a region or a state or a country are asked to accept or reject a proposal. In a country, when a proposal is bought by so many people or by the politicians, it totally depends upon the people to accept it or to reject it, and that becomes plebiscite. Now come to the topic, the French Revolution and the idea of the nation. The first clear expression of nationalism came with the French Revolution in 1789. You have studied in class 9th also that when did the French Revolution took place? It was in the year 1789. And as we all remember, was a full-fledged territorial state in 1789 under the rule of an absolute monarch, and the political and constitutional changes that came in the wake of the French Revolution led to the transfer of sovereignty from the monarchy to a body of French citizens. And the revolution claimed that it was the people who would henceforth constitute the nation and shape its destiny. Means, with the help of French Revolution in 1789, those were the people or the citizen of the people of the France. They will constitute the nation and they will decide their fate. What are their destiny? उनको कैसे अपने देश में रहना है, कैसे वहां की जनता किस गवर्नमेंट के अंदर रूल करेगी और रूल किस तरह का होगा. So come to the next paragraph, that is, from the very beginning the French revolutionaries introduced various measures and practices that could create a sense of collective identity amongst the French people. And the ideas of la patrie, the fatherland, means la patrie is a French word whose meaning is the fatherland, and les citoyens, the citizen, emphasized the notion of a united community enjoying equal rights under a constitution. This is a very important point according to history also, which chapter we are dealing, and according to civics, political science also. So enjoying equal rights under constitution becomes united community and democratic. A new French flag, the tricolor, was chosen to replace the former royal standard. The States General was elected by the body of active citizens and renamed the National Assembly. New hymns were composed, oaths were taken, and martyrs commemorated, all in the name of the nation. A centralized administrative system was put in the place of formulated uniform laws for all citizens within its territory. Internal customs, duties, and dues were abolished, and a uniform system of weights, measures was adopted. Regional dialects means regional languages. Dialects here means languages were discouraged, and French, as it was spoken and written in Paris, became the common language of the nation. So the revolutionaries further declared that it was the mission and destiny of the French nation to liberate the peoples of Europe from despotism. In other words, to help other people of Europe to become nations. Means from the France only it has started, and so many countries like Germany, Austria, the Kingdom of Two Sicilies, Lombardy, Poland, England, Ireland, Hungary, and Russia, they all followed the French Revolution, and they also wanted to uh, become a democratic nation. So now come when the news of the events in France reached the different cities of Europe, students and other members of educated middle class began setting of Jacobin clubs. Now, who actual behind the Jacobin clubs were the middle class, educated middle class, and the students. And what were their functions? Those who became the member of Jacobin clubs, their activities and campaigns and functions prepared by them, and how the French armies would, which moved into Holland, Belgium, Switzerland, and much of Italy in the 1790s. These things, these programs were discussed and prepared. So with the outbreak of the Revolutionary Wars, the French armies began to carry the idea of nationalism abroad also, means out of country, France also. So within the wide swath of the territory that came under his control, Napoleon set up introducing many of the reforms that he had already introduced in France. Through a return to monarchy, Napoleon had no doubt destroyed democracy in France, but in the administrative field, he had incorporated revolutionary principles in order to make the whole system more rational and efficient. The Civil Code of 1804, usually known as the Napoleonic Code, did away with all privileges based on birth, established equality before the law, and secured the right to property. And the Napoleonic Code, Civil Code of 1804, was exported to the regions under French control in the Dutch Republic, in Switzerland, in Italy, and Germany. Napoleon simplified administrative divisions, abolished the feudal system, and freed peasants, farmers from serfdom and manorial dues. छोटे मोटे कर्ज को भी माफ कर दिया गया था, और ये कोई जरूरी नहीं था कि आप किसी भी अमीर के यहाँ आप नौकर की तरह उनके खेतों में काम करते रहो या उनके फार्म हाउस में। सर्फडम एंड मेनोरियल ड्यूज से नेपोलियन ने फ्री कर दिया था। इन द टाउन्स टू गिल्ड restrictions were removed, transport and communication systems were improved. Peasants, artisans, workers, and new businessmen enjoyed a newfound freedom. Businessmen and small scale producers of goods in particular began to realize that uniform laws, standardized weights and measures, and a common national currency would facilitate the movement and exchange of goods and capital from one region to another. So these were the good measures, good steps taken by the Napoleon in 1804 AD. However, in the areas conquered, the reactions of the local population to French rule were mixed. Initially, in many places such as Holland and Switzerland, as well as in certain cities like Brussels, Mayence, Milan, Warsaw, the French armies were welcomed as harbingers of liberty, but the initial enthusiasm soon turned to hostility as it became clear that the new administrative arrangements did not go hand in hand with political freedom. Increased taxation, censorship, forced conscription into the French armies required to conquer the rest of Europe all seem to outweigh the advantages of administrative changes. There were certain drawbacks also, and these were censorship, forced conscriptions, and army. There was fear that army would rule. So these were the negative points of the Napoleon rule. So for today, it's I'm closing it. In the next section, I will take the next topic. Thank you very much.